Hi, it's Andre. Today's video is going to kind of be two parts. It's going to be a vocal range video about the different registers, and it's also going to be a revision for what is falsetto, the rant video that I made. The reason I'm revising it is because I recently was on a website called thevoiceteacher.com. Okay, and on this website there are articles, and one of the articles is about whistle register. Okay, now the voice teacher, the guy who is the author of the site, who is a vocal coach, he has a case study where a woman came to him for help with her falsetto register. And after getting a little bit of backstory from her, he discovered that her previous voice teacher had mistaken her whistle register or false chord function for her falsetto register, and thus he had trained her whistle register. So she had issues where the song called for a certain note that you'd sing in falsetto register. She was using her whistle register, so she jumped like a half an octave, because whistle register is normally higher than your falsetto. So she had problems with being pitchy because she would jump notes that she didn't intend to, and that she wouldn't have if she had actually been using her falsetto register. Okay, now he describes false chord function as being typified of events where you squeak, where there is a pressure behind your throat of air trying to escape, and when the air escapes, it's a high note, but it comes out and it's kind of a squeak. You know, you're restricting airflow a lot. And so when comparing that to my falsetto, what is falsetto register video, which you can check out if you want, I realized that what I'm describing as my falsetto register is actually false chord function. Okay, which would be whistle register. So I wanted to go on record as apologizing for any happenings that arrived from my misinterpretation, because honestly, I have never had a vocal coach or voice lessons or been in choirs or whatever. Everything that I've learned is through what I read from hopefully reputable sources on the internet, and from experimentation with my own voice. Yes. So, also according to this, thevoiceteacher.com, I've derived that real falsetto register does not have that air restriction that you have. You should be able to sing your high notes, but you should have the same or slightly less airflow that you have when you sing in your chest register or your mixed voice register. Okay? So, I have my tuner up, and this is where the vocal range part of the video starts. And I'm going to demonstrate my registers for you. So here we go. My chest voice or modal register, the lower part before the first passaggio, would sound like this. Which is a G2. Okay? G sharp 2, G2. Then in the second part of my chest register, or my upper chest register, which is what comes after the first passaggio, would be that's an F3 at the end. Okay. Then now it comes to falsetto register and whistle register. Your falsetto register normally comes after your second passaggio. For those of you who don't know, that's the second part where your voice not breaks, but your tone changes a bit. And it's difficult to push through your first passaggio. It's literally a passage of the voice. Your voice it changes the way the sound is produced. A bit. Okay? So false chord function, or what I thought was falsetto, would be, that's an F5. Okay, that's pretty high, you know, considering that my middle voice, or my voice between my first and second passaggio, only really goes up to like a B4 or an A4. So that's a huge jump where are the notes in between, which is what my problem has been. So that would be the false chord function. That would be my whistle register. Because I'm not a woman, it doesn't get the whistly sound, but it will go up into the fifth octave, or even the upper fifth octave, or even the lower sixth octave. With training, there are men whose whistle registers go much higher, up to the eighth octave. Adam Lopez, I believe, is someone who's in the Guinness Book of World Records for the highest male voice, because his whistle register goes very high, and with training you can get high like that. Of course, you also need to have natural talent, and the way your voice box is shaped and things like that. But yes, with training you can develop your whistle register. To what extent, I can't say. I'm not a vocal coach, and it depends on the person. Okay? Now, that, which I'll do again, which is an E5, compared to real falsetto, is different, apparently. So my real falsetto, I'm going to try and get into it, because I never ever sing in real falsetto. I just never got a feel for it, what it felt like, so I always thought that the false chord function was falsetto. And if you train yourself to use false chord function instead of falsetto, you will use false chord function instead of falsetto. Anytime you'll reach for a falsetto note, you'll automatically switch to false chord function subconsciously. So for me, I actually have to work to make sure that my voice is in the position to use real falsetto. Okay? And for me, what I do is, there's a lot of stuff on the internet about opening your throat, you know, and in the back of your throat, on the top, there's the area of your throat that's affected by things like menthol and mint, where it becomes like cool when you breathe in. So for me to use my falsetto, I open that like as much as possible, and I try and get all the frequencies in my voice at the same level when I project the note. Okay, so I'm going to try and do my falsetto for you right now. Like I said, it's really hard for me to do because I don't use it, and I've trained myself out of using it, so I'm going to try and use it for you. Okay? So here we go. That's like a C5, D5. That would be my falsetto. And you can hear the difference between that and you see how the difference between those is? Like the second one, I have restricted airflow. The first one, I have normal airflow, like I have throughout my chest register. So, yeah. Apparently those are different. I don't know. But I hope that helps somebody else out there, that's what your falsetto is, your falsetto register, as versus your false chord function and whistle register. Because I know for a lot of men, that we have a problem of our voices don't go high enough in the whistle register to sound like a whistle. Like, for example, Mariah Carey's whistle register. It sounds like a whistle, you know? The frequency is really, really high, the note that you're getting. And because men's voices are automatically lower, our whistle registers are lower. So my whistle register, for example, or my false chord function, I can go down to like a G4. Whereas for a lot of women, if they use their whistle register, they start at a C6. Like, automatically, if you use your whistle register, you're going to be hitting a C6. Or higher. So, there's a lot of confusion with that. That hopefully this video will help men to understand that you have a whistle register, but it doesn't sound like a whistle. Whistle register, as far as I know, is like all the other registers, is a position that your larynx and your voice box puts itself into. It's not the sound or the pitch that comes out. That's not what defines whistle register. Like, a lot of people I've seen a lot of vocal range videos where they talk about upper chest voice. And a lot of the examples that they'll give for singers, it isn't actually their upper chest voice, it's their lower chest voice, below the first passaggio. Your upper chest voice is between your first passaggio and your second passaggio. So if you're singing like my lower chest register, I can get up to like an E or like an F4 on a really good day, but normally I get up to about a C4. And that's almost 2 octaves. Okay, that's almost the entirety, if it's at an E4, that's the entirety of a baritone's, both of their passaggios. Okay, and my second, or my upper chest register below my second passaggio, between the first and the second passaggios, that goes up to like a B4 or a C4, which is very large. So my full chest register would go from an E2 thereabouts, maybe a C2 if I'm really in the zone, to a C5. That's 3 octaves just for chest register. A normal chest register is 2 octaves, about. That's normally what the average is. But my chest register is 3 octaves, and thus my passaggios are placed differently. And say a bass, their first passaggio is often much higher than someone would expect it to be. Normally you would think, okay, well, if there's a first passaggio and a second passaggio, then your first passaggio, which is the middle one, or the first one, would be in the middle of your chest register. That's not always the case. Sometimes your first passaggio, if you're a bass, would be much higher. It would be maybe 2/3 of the way into your chest register. And then you'd only have a little bit of room in your middle voice between your first passaggio and your second passaggio. And that happens. Some singers have more room between their first passaggio and their second passaggio. Like, their first passaggio is 1/3 of the way into their chest register, and then they switch into their middle voice. So, or their head voice, I should say. Those are things you have to keep in mind too when you're thinking about your vocal range. So, anyway, this video, which I've totally gotten off track on, was me correcting what falsetto register is. All I can say is I never used that. I didn't even know that's what it was. So, yeah, I hope this is helpful to you guys. And if there's anything you guys can come back at me with, that, you have links or whatever to, other information that you would think would be helpful for somebody who wants to know the difference between, or wants to know what falsetto register is, let me know. I'm totally open to hearing more information. That is always great. The only thing I ask is that if you do not speak English, please, like I said in my other rant video, please try to be as clear as possible, and don't take what I respond to you or my reply as being something that's easily interpreted. I like to deal with specifics, something that you can go and look up in a dictionary so that way you can reference the things that I'm saying. Yeah, so I don't want there to be like miscommunications and stuff like that. And as always, I have the right to my opinion, you have the right to your opinion. A lot of music and vocal typing and stuff like that is subjective because it is unique to each individual. So if we disagree on something, it's not that you're wrong and it's not that I'm wrong, unless the definition of the word is one of our definitions does not match up with the actual definition of the word. Okay? That would be the only instance where someone is wrong, in my opinion. Like me, I was wrong because what I thought was falsetto was really whistle register. So I was wrong by saying that my falsetto was falsetto when it was really whistle register. I was wrong. But saying that, saying that your falsetto is not, say, high enough, or your falsetto is too low, or whatever like that, that's subjective because it depends on the person. So you may think it's too low, but it's still falsetto register. So I just want to keep misunderstandings like that to a minimum. And if I disagree with you, I'll acknowledge that we disagree, and I'm not going to agree with you. And we can move on in our discussion. Normally, if that's the case, I'll switch to a topic like, say, what is your definition of the word? And, where did you get that definition? And why do you feel that that doesn't apply to this person? And not because, they don't sound like this. That's not a good enough reason. What is the actual specific reason that it doesn't apply to a said person? That's what I want to hear. Why does the definition not apply to them? Because obviously I think the definition applies to them, and I have reasons for that, and I'll give them to you. But if you disagree with me and you can't give me a reason except that you don't think that that's the way it is, well, that's just what you think. That's why it's the reason you don't think it's the way it is. That's your opinion. Yeah. So, everybody have a good day, and no, I didn't do my hair. I washed it and I put it up, and now it's all tangled. Ow, 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 ow. Yeah. So, have a good day. Mwah.